Would you believe it? On this last recording, I was interrupted at what seems to be the very end now by what amounts to an AI ad, which stopped my recording, said it was saved, and 20 minutes, 24 seconds. Well, strangely enough, I was thinking at that moment, have I quite said what I meant to say? Do I change this? And the interruption, do you see, was sort of a slight frustration to me, but was a blessing, of course. You see, everything God does is a blessing. He's all-powerful and He loves you. I've gone through 3 marriages. Probably more in reality. I had a long relationship before the first marriage. We were together 5 years nearly. It's all for blessing. That is our trust. He's an all-powerful God that loves you. Sure, you don't understand why this thing, whatever it is, perhaps is happening. But you're going to trust with all your heart because you want to love Him with all your heart. Your God, all-powerful and loves you. Loves all. So we're practicing to love all in fellowship too. And we make mistakes. I mean, you know this in your religious group or in your working situation. I mean, you take on relationships that are very difficult, far too difficult. And you need space. You need to choose good company, not bad. So you keep some people at a sort of formal distance. Ideally still helpful, but not truly in fellowship with. Do you see? I mean, Jesus was not, in the story, fellowshipping with all the Pharisees and Sadducees. I mean, they wanted to kill Him, quite simply. Some of them. 1 or 2 were different. They come to Him like Nicodemus by night. They're fascinated by Him. And Jesus entertains them accordingly. Isn't that lovely? We do the same. So we are ever predisposed to be in fellowship with anyone that's seeking to love their God with all their heart, soul, mind and strength. More than that, we're also very willing to be helpful and kind and understanding to anyone that has a great need and is seeking help from us. Now, the impotent man, incidentally, was not seeking help. He'd been laying there for something like 20 years or something, and, it's a way of life. Jesus even says to him, do you want to be healed? And of course, point blank question, which the impotent man avoids like an impotent man would. Well, I'm not able to get in, mate. I mean, other people always get down there before me. It's not my fault. And so Jesus says, well, I'm going to heal you anyway. No, He doesn't say that, but He does. He heals him anyway. And does good come of it? No, I don't think so. Well, not in the immediate story anyway. As soon as he finds out who Jesus is, he tells the authorities. He must have known. Well, perhaps he didn't, but I don't know. It looks to me as if he knew what he was doing. And Jesus has warned him, and he's sinned no more. What could be a greater sin than to do something harmful? especially as we see it in our childish way, to the kindest person on earth. How's that for sin? Don't know, do you? It's an interesting story, though, isn't it? Let me hear this recording again and get back on track. Oh yes, that's what I should do. Let me now give the ending that I now feel I should have given to that particular recording, rather than what I found I was just embarking on. Okay, here we go. Yes, look, it's not quite a continuity, but what I want to say is people that feel they want to love God with all their heart, soul, mind and strength so often think it's the God that's presented to them by someone else, religion or family or whatever. And that's not actually their God. They have to realize, really, that their God is in fact what the personification of what they value would be. And of course, they're probably struggling to match this up with the God that they feel that they should be loving. So they're following a religion that's not their own, in effect, because they feel they should. And that's disastrous. You must be true to yourself. To thine own self be true. And learn accordingly. Now, I've listed 1,000 times by now, I should think, what those values are. And I don't think you come across many people that don't have these values, actually. You value joy and life and creativity, peace and kindness, empathy probably, love, goodness. You won't find many persons that at heart don't have these values. But what they tend not to have is a devotion to these values. They're trying to be devoted to some other God, some other set of values, which has been personified for them by some external religion that seems to, in a sense, impose itself upon them. They travel through life being terribly guilty that they're not living up to this, the demands of this God. And they suffer from blame and self-condemnation and, well, wreak havoc actually wherever they go and with each other. I got a friend who was writing a book on why do people leave churches. I really think this is the reason. Because it's not their God. Not really. And they're struggling to behave as if it is. And as time wears on, it wears thin. And they squabble and have discord one with another and they leave. So I'm not saying you can be in fellowship with anybody, because some company is extremely fractious and difficult. and will be an endless burden to you, not a spiritual blessing at all. It's not because we don't want to love them. It's just that we don't have the resources to survive being with them and blessed at the same time. You could say that they show clearly to us the way we don't want to go, but once you've got the message, you don't want to keep being told and experience such day in and day out. You just want to move on, and you will. So just as my friend's written a thesis on why people leave churches, you can now write a thesis on why marriage relationships fail. So often. I think in fairness they have in the past as well. It's just that they were chained together by a society that pressed them into a conformity of faithfulness to death, regardless of the consequences on each other and the children. Not as good as it might seem. History gets a gloss on it. Fortunately, in a sense, we don't want to live with a bad history. We'd rather think things were rather better than they were. What do you think? Well, in some sense then I found the way that 1565, was it, should have gone. What do you think? May God bless what you think. Thank you, Heavenly Dad.